Hi, thank you for joining us. I'm Rachel Asenas, and this is Inside Santa Barbara, the news magazine that takes you inside the city's most important projects, issues, and events. Today we are coming to you from the rooftop of City Hall, where we get a great view of the Riviera neighborhood. This month, the residents of that neighborhood will participate in a fire drill. At any given time, there are 25 city firefighters on duty, while the city's population is about 90,000. That's why it's important that you be prepared in the event of an emergency. In our top story, we'll tell you about the city's emergency preparedness plans, as well as show you how you can prepare yourself and your family should a disaster strike. Disaster can strike quickly and without warning. It can force you to evacuate your neighborhood or your workplace, or it can confine you to your home. Although lives and properties have been lost in past disasters, important lessons have been learned. Here in Santa Barbara, we have seen the devastation of disasters like the Sycamore Canyon fire, so we all know that it is not if a disaster happens, but when. That's why the city is taking action towards emergency preparedness.
They've just hired, just last year, for the first time, a full-time emergency services manager. And that person is getting ready to train all the city employees on how to respond to disasters, how to set up our emergency operating center, and how to be very efficient when it comes to dealing with disasters.
The city is the only city within the county that has a full-time emergency management position that's going to look at disaster planning and exercising and redoing plans or revising plans and looking at creating a more disaster-resistant community by beginning to prepare the community itself and the public in disaster preparedness.
The city's second major emergency preparedness initiative deals with public education. As part of this outreach, one local neighborhood will participate in a fire evacuation drill.
The scenario is a rapidly moving wildland fire, so we want to teach people how to evacuate quickly and efficiently and be thinking about that. That's part of the public education process, is to be thinking about what it means to evacuate quickly.
Although the drill is good practice, there is one harsh reality when it comes to emergencies.
In the event of an emergency where everyone in the city will be affected, there will not be enough emergency services providers to respond to all calls. And so we want people to know so that they can take personal responsibility and start training and educating themselves.
Riviera resident Sandy Stinson has taken steps to take care of herself. Stinson carries an emergency kit in her car, which will come in handy because she travels so frequently.
First thing is some good tennis shoes and some socks, because I never know what I'm going to be wearing. And water, and more water, flashlight, and it's the shake kind, so you don't have to worry about batteries or running out of batteries or batteries going old. Sony headset, I figured that this uses less batteries than a regular transistor radio. So if I need to listen to news or whatever, I would be able to listen to it from here. And emergency blanket. I got this at the camping store. Emergency rain ponchos. I think I actually have 2 of these. Soap. A compass, body lotion and shampoo and that kind of stuff. Toothbrush. Toothpaste. Peanut butter. Or potable water tablets in case I need to make water good. Aspirin. Hand sanitizer. Extra batteries. Oh, a little first aid kit with Band-Aids and Neosporin and some tape. And in here I have beef jerky and some granola bars.
Also, with so many commuters coming into Santa Barbara on a daily basis, Stinson says having a kit just makes sense.
And it's just a stress level that you don't need, especially if you commute. If there's only one way, really from Ventura to Santa Barbara. If something were to happen and you were stuck on the side, or, if there's an emergency here, there may not be places to stay. You just don't know what the situation would be. This should last me, for 3 or 4 days should something happen. So it's just, it's just kind of peace of mind.
Local resident Annie Tepete also has peace of mind. She has everything her family needs if a disaster were to happen at home.
I had basic awareness of the fact that we live in a town where there's the possibility of many types of disasters, wildfires, tsunamis, earthquakes, of course, and it was always something I had planned to do. I mean, all the time we hear about getting a kit together. First I started out small, just getting a container for my kit as well as a kit for the car, and just starting to add things to it. And I'd say it's not completely done yet, but it has the basics in it, and I'll continue to add to it till it's completely done. This is my kit that has special things of my daughter's needs.
Tepete's eldest child, Isa, has special needs, so an emergency kit with necessary items like medications are particularly important to her.
And that's the thing that really sort of scared me straight, that if something happens and I don't have the supplies for my daughter, that's going to be very serious.
The Tepete family has also planned an evacuation route.
We just come through here, down the steps. You want to get Isa? Where's Isa? Get Isa. And this is our accessible exit through our kitchen. Whoops, did I get ahead? And we would grab our kit and we'd be ready to go.
But this family's emergency preparedness plans don't stop there. They each have assigned roles. At only 11 years old, Diego Tepete knows what his specific role is during a fire and an earthquake.
During a fire, I would go back into our laundry room and grab a fire extinguisher and then bring it to my dad if he was home, and if not, I'd bring it to my mom. And if it was an earthquake or such, I'd go into the garage and grab the disaster preparedness kit and go outside and wait.
Knowing where certain items are located in your home and how to use them can also be life-saving. For example, a fire extinguisher.
We remember them as pass. First thing you're going to do is pull the pin. The next thing is aim. So you're going to aim whatever, if you have a hose or this one has a cone on it, you're going to aim it at the base of your fire. You're going to squeeze this right here.
A fire extinguisher typically holds about 10 to 20 seconds of extinguishing power. Fire officials say you should get proper hands-on training before operating one. Now, after the fire is out, don't walk away. Watch the area for a few minutes just in case it reignites. Residents should also know where their gas meter is located. If you need to have your gas shut off, call your gas company to do it. But here's how to do it yourself if you need the gas shut off immediately, using our local fire station's gas meter as an example.
It's important that they know the gas meter is going to be on the outside of the building, generally on one of the four sides of the building. It's generally going to be towards the street, and it's generally going to be above ground like this. Only the commercial meters are below ground and usually out at the sidewalk area or the street area. They can buy earthquake shutoff valves like this that can be bought, but if you have a crescent wrench in your home, it'll do the same thing. So to go ahead and shut the gas down, I'm going to go ahead and put a wrench in place and go down until we're crossways to the incoming gas, quarter turn, and to turn the gas back on, merely coming back up to a straight up and down position. Now the gas is back on.
But do not practice this at home. You should only shut off the gas when absolutely necessary.
A natural gas leak inside a structure should be taken seriously, because natural gas has a tendency with a leak to accumulate in a building. It's lighter than air. It will accumulate at the ceiling in the higher concentrations, then it will work its way down, and without adequate ventilation, explosion potential is always possible if a source of ignition is found.
As we all know, disasters can happen when you least expect it. You may be at work the next time one strikes. Businesses should have their own evacuation plans. Each year, City Hall employees participate in a surprise fire drill with the goal of evacuating the building in a minute and a half or less. Thanks to that fire drill, all of us here at City TV know exactly what to do and where to go in case of emergency. We also know where all of the important items are located in the office. Here's our fire extinguisher, and not too far away is our first aid kit, which we keep right here. It's easily accessible. And back over here is my workspace. Underneath my desk, I keep my own personalized emergency kit. The time to prepare is now. The more prepared people are, the better off we will all be. Although local fire officials are reaching out to the public about emergency preparedness, the city is encouraging people to meet them halfway simply by taking personal responsibility.
And I'm here to tell you, as the chief of the fire department, I've seen it for 32 years of my career. It happens when people least expect it. And so don't think you're going to be exempt from a disaster or even a small fire. I'd like to implore people to take this seriously and to take some personal responsibility and be ready.
The Riviera Neighborhood Drill is scheduled for April 28th. We should also note that the demonstrations in that story were all done with the help of our city firefighters. Visit our website, citytv18.com, to learn how you can get your own hands-on training. Well, right now, the city is acting to help prevent an emergency of a different kind, global warming. In January, the City Council accepted the Architecture 2030 Challenge to reduce its contribution to the problem. Up next, learn what has come out of the city's efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
With more dire global warming reports and projections coming out nearly every day, the need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions is now common knowledge. But while much attention has focused on two major sources of these gases, transportation and industry, the major culprit has evaded scrutiny, even though it's right over our heads.
Buildings can have a huge impact on the environment, not only in the construction of the buildings, but in their operation.
In fact, building construction and operation account for nearly half of all energy consumption in the U.S. every year. That's why the city has just adopted a new green building policy for city-owned and operated structures.
It takes both the new buildings and major renovations that we're going to do and addresses those as well as existing buildings that we have.
The city has committed to use the nationally recognized Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, or LEED, program.
LEED is a green building criteria created by the U.S. Green Building Council, and it's a 5-part checklist.
Projects are awarded silver, gold, and platinum certification depending on the number of credits they receive. For new buildings and major renovations, the city has committed to achieve at least a silver rating. Where LEED is not applicable, the city will pursue certification through another equivalent green building program. LEED also has performance-based criteria for existing buildings.
And the difference between the LEED new construction and the LEED EB is that the LEED EB is really for more of a maintenance and operations.
In addition to LEED certification, new city buildings and major renovations will be designed to exceed State Title 24 energy standards by 20%. Title 24 was established in 1978 to reduce energy consumption.
And in talking to a number of the builders and contractors and engineers, that seems like a reasonable goal, and so that's what we're going to pursue.
In January 2007, the City Council accepted the Architecture 2030 Challenge, a series of CO2 emissions reduction targets for buildings.
Building is a local activity. It is not mandated by the federal government. It is a grassroots activity. It is at the grassroots, at the state and the city and the county level, where action has to take place.
Ed Masria is one in a group of architects, builders, environmentalists, and engineers that are trying to get the 2030 Challenge adopted globally. And since 3/4 of all buildings will be built new or renovated in the next 30 years, he says building them sustainably can literally save the planet as we know it.
Think about it. It's a new place in 2035. What a huge opportunity to turn the entire building sector around if we do it right.
But in a time of tight budgets, how reasonable is it to build sustainably? Studies show even if you take the environmental benefits out of the equation, going green makes a lot of sense.
22 buildings in California were looked at with LEED certificates, found that it has a 1.8% increase in costs up front for a certified building.
And experts say Santa Barbara's climate lends itself well to green building.
If you design a building properly, it doesn't need all the typical heating and air conditioning that you would need maybe in Palm Desert or Lancaster. So we have a great opportunity to actually use our existing environment to help condition our indoor spaces.
I think the city's benefit is that we're going to be a long-term owner of these facilities. They're not going to go away, and so the energy savings that the city will recoup on an annual basis will pay off the whatever increase in cost of construction.
Architects and engineers hired by the city will now be required to use the LEED checklist and the existing building criteria as a standard for improvements to existing city buildings. Some city employees will also be LEED accredited.
They'll be used on city projects, and so they'll help facilitate that. And then again, they'll be able to work with applicant teams who are pursuing those strategies and be familiar and be able to work collaboratively with them.
And if you think the city doesn't build or renovate many structures, think again. The city has recently completed the Granada Garage and State Street restrooms, both of which boast a number of green attributes. And the new airport terminal will be one of the largest green structures on the Central Coast. The city also has a number of large renovation projects in the works.
Take two, for example, which is the fire station, number one, and we're remodeling that. We intend on going after a gold certificate in that. And then also we're going to look at the Creo Rec Center, which is a renovation, and we'll be looking probably at the existing building, a LEED certificate for that.
With the approval of this new green building policy, City Council is demonstrating its leadership in the fight against global warming. They hope by setting an example, others will realize the promise of sustainability and in turn rise to the challenge of 2030.
It's the right thing to do. Getting more green, so to speak, is really building right. It's building the way that we can for the environment.
I'm passionate about this issue because I think I have two small children, and I think about what I leave them. I want to leave an impact that I've done something to help their situation in the future is better than mine.
The city is currently working to formulate policy for private development projects. Well, global warming is a hot topic right now, and with good reason. A recent report by 600 of the world's top climate experts says if fossil fuel usage continues at its current rate, the Earth is in for some cataclysmic changes. Up next, Chris Bell takes a look at an exhibit that paints a picture of how drastic those changes could be.
Can you imagine beachfront property on De La Guerra Street? How about an airport where the only planes that can land are seaplanes? Or what if, to get from Carpinteria to Goleta, you had to drive through a series of undersea tunnels? If you're having trouble visualizing this scenario, the Light Blue Line project is here to help you. Its exhibit, now on the first floor of City Hall, projects how different the coastline would be if some of the worst-case global warming scenarios come to fruition.
The light blue line is being drawn on the streets at the 7 meter above sea level elevation. And that's the amount of ocean rise you would get if Greenland melts.
Karen doesn't contend Greenland is the only place melting, nor is he saying the ice sheet on Greenland is going to melt tomorrow. He is saying that the human-induced part of climate change has to stop in the next 10 years, or it's going to be too late.
We really only have a very few number of years to prevent the climate from tipping into a situation that is unlike anything that we've seen in the past.
Karen was inspired to act after seeing An Inconvenient Truth, the documentary that tracks the evidence related to global warming. He says he was frustrated with the disconnect between the urgency of the science and the complacency of the public.
When you look at the line, you're looking at the effect of a global climate on the streets, of your town. Now, it's not, a current effect, it's a future effect, but you can see it where it would be in the future right at your feet today. So it's just my part of trying to bridge that divide between science and public awareness and public interest.
Karen says 7 meters is roughly the same amount of surge that occurred during Hurricane Katrina and the Indian Ocean tsunamis of 2004.
I think we are vulnerable in a more immediate sense to events like that. And we're hoping that the 7-meter line will, again, make people more aware of what parts of the town are most vulnerable in an emergency.
Also on display at the exhibit are photographs of landscapes around the world that are already exhibiting dramatic transformation due to global warming. There are also postcards by local artist Tom Houston that portray Santa Barbara with a higher sea level.
We're all invested in the waterfront down here in Santa Barbara. We want to see the ocean down at the beach. We don't want to see it up at the top of Milpas.
The project hopes to paint city streets with a blue line indicating where the 7-meter elevation lies. After Santa Barbara, Karen would like to take a light blue line on the road to other coastal cities, cities like ours that have a high regard for their low-lying areas.
Every time you drive across the line, or bike across it, or hopefully walk over it, it makes you think, are you doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing today to help keep the ocean down at the waterfront?
Karen says the Light Blue Line is partnering with the Community Environmental Council to address solutions to this crisis. For more information about the Light Blue Line, go to lightblueline.org. The exhibit will be at City Hall through June 29th. Well, it's known that one of the easiest ways to reduce CO2 emissions is by conserving. In our next segment, Dominique Blocker tells us about a new program here on the South Coast that is helping local businesses do just that for free.
You may have noticed local shops getting a lighting makeover. It's the start of the new Business Direct Install program that began sweeping through the South Coast in February.
It has grown out of the energy efficiency partnership with Edison and the County of Santa Barbara and the cities of Carpinteria, Goleta, and Santa Barbara.
They are working with the Community Environmental Council to implement the partnership's newest program, which furthers their goal of creating a more energy efficient and environmentally conscious South Coast.
Currently, we are working on our Business Direct Install program, where we're coming to small and medium-sized businesses, seeing what their energy needs are and retrofitting them for free.
What a benefit this is for our local businesses. Small and medium businesses qualify for this program.
Local South Coast businesses that use an average of less than 100 kilowatt demand are qualified to receive up to $5,000 worth of free energy efficient upgrades.
I received a notice saying that they had an exciting new program where we could save energy and get started on the program, and about 3 weeks later a woman by the name of Nancy came by and introduced herself and gave me a little information about it and asked if I'd be interested in having our light bulbs switched out so that we could save energy.
By replacing older, less efficient equipment with new lighting and refrigeration accessories, participating businesses can save more than $1,800 a year.
They came in yesterday and did it, and it was really painless, and it was done within about an hour and a half. Changed all my light fixtures and all my light bulbs, and seems like it's working nice.
For many business owners, the best part is that these upgrades, including installation, are at no cost to them.
First, of course, we were a little hesitant because nothing is free. We know that, and it actually is free.
The program has the potential to serve as many as 2,000 South Coast businesses, saving millions of dollars and supporting local economic development. If you are a business owner, make sure to sign the letter of consent that was sent out so when crews make it to your neighborhood, you don't miss the opportunity to save money and help the environment.
For more information on the Business Direct Install program, call 963-0583, extension 105. Well, from this vantage point, you can really gain an appreciation for how beautiful it is here in Santa Barbara. Well, one local resident who has an appreciation for that beauty has just been crowned the city's new poet laureate. And as Brooke Hawkins shows us, it's just one of the things the city is doing to celebrate National Poetry Month.
2 years ago, the Santa Barbara Arts Commission and the City of Santa Barbara gave one local poet a special duty: to capture the sentiment of the city through poetry.
Basically, the idea is to promote poetry as an art form throughout the city of Santa Barbara.
Barry Spax served as the city's first poet laureate.
To see these young people coming on and being involved with poetry, that was a high point. In a more general way, writing poems for occasions, about 12 different times people would ask me for a poem, and I'd try to make it a real poem and also speak to the occasion. That was a challenge, and every time that came off, it felt really good.
I wrote a poem about it.
Now, another local artist gets an opportunity to be the city's poet laureate.
The city of Santa Barbara has a very rich history of promoting the arts and being a very artistic community, and poetry is a great medium to express that sentiment throughout Santa Barbara in a verbal form.
So the city sent out its call to select a poet to represent us all. And now Santa Barbara has made its choice to select a poet who will inspire us with her voice.
Announced at the City Council meeting on April 3rd, Perry Longo will become the city's second poet laureate. Longo will serve a 2-year term beginning in April, which is National Poetry Month.
Well, I love Santa Barbara, and I've been writing poetry for many years in our community with lots of different people, from children to adults. And I think it'll be very exciting just to bring this other dimension to the work that I've been doing for a long time.
Inaugurated by the Academy of American Poets in April 1996, National Poetry Month celebrates poetry and its vital place in American culture.
I think it gives people a way to express their sorrows, their joys, their fun, their pleasure about everything that's going on in the world. I mean, and in Santa Barbara, we live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, so, you know, I think it's a great subject for poetry.
For a listing of all Santa Barbara poetry events, visit sbpoetry.net. Last month, we brought you our show from the new Teen Center. Well, following the grand opening, the center has been averaging about 27 teens per day. So far, 100 teen members have signed up. Up next, Brooke Hawkins shows us how the community kicked off the opening of this project that was 15 years in the making.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Thanks to the enthusiasm of over 110 Santa Barbara youth, the Teen Center 1235 is now officially open to the public after a weekend full of celebration.
Just absolutely thrilled to be mayor of this city that values its teens enough to do this for them.
Local teens dedicated over 1,000 hours of their time, even though some of them knew they wouldn't be able to use the Teen Center.
I'm very excited that it's come this far and it's completed, and I'm very happy for everyone that's been involved.
A March Madness party officially opened 1235 to the public and showcased all the activities that are now available to local youth. The center also offers classes on everything from hip-hop dance to journalism, video game tournaments, and art receptions for local teen artists. The facility is open 6 days a week and will provide a safe and fun environment.
The young people wanted it, and then we had to figure out how to do it. And so I think it's appropriate to have the senior center on one end of the block and the teen center in the other place.
The Teen Center has received $3,000 toward their Angel Fund, which was established in honor of Luis Linares, the 15-year-old killed in a local gang fight last month. If you're interested in donating to the Angel Fund or have any other questions about the Teen Center, you can call 882-1235. Teen Center membership is only $15 a year. Well, that does it for this month's episode of Inside Santa Barbara. We hope you'll join us next time. If you have any questions or comments about our show, give us a call at City TV at 564-5311. Or catch us on our website at citytv18.com. I'm your host, Rachel Senes, and remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.